While the Constitution of Tajikistan technically guarantees freedom of religion, in practice, the state has tight control over religious activities, particularly for the Muslim majority. In recent months, Tajikistan has tightened its grip on the practice of Islam, with the president commenting on proper attire, reports of forced beard shavings, and new regulations on who can travel to Mecca for the Hajj. Tajikistan's government, under President Emomali Rahmon, has implemented a law banning the hijab as part of a broader strategy that includes 35 religion-related acts. This move is justified by the government as a measure to protect national cultural values and prevent superstition and extremism. The law prohibits foreign clothing, specifically targeting the hijab, and instead promotes the wearing of traditional Tajik national dress. This policy is seen as a reflection of the government's long-standing efforts to control religious expression and maintain secularism since Rahmon's tenure began in 1997. Violators of the new law will face fines: 7,920 Tajikistani somoni, almost €700 for ordinary citizens, 54,000 somoni, €4,694 for government officials, and 57,600 somoni, about €5,000, for religious figures. Earlier this month, similar laws were enacted affecting various religious practices, including Eid Gardak, a centuries-old tradition in Tajikistan where children go door to door to collect pocket money on Eid holidays. Historical context. Tajikistan, a predominantly Muslim country in Central Asia, has undergone significant political and social changes since gaining independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. The nation's government, led by President Emomali Rahmon since 1994, has implemented a series of policies aimed at controlling religious expression and maintaining secularism. These measures, often perceived as anti-Islam, have intensified over the years, leading to widespread criticism from human rights organizations and religious groups. Early policies and the Civil War aftermath. The early 1990s were marked by a brutal civil war in Tajikistan, which pitted the government against a coalition of Islamist groups, including the Tajikistan Islamic Renaissance Party, TIRP. The war ended in 1997 with a UN-brokered peace agreement, granting the opposition significant concessions. TIRP was allowed to participate in the government, becoming the first post-Soviet political party in Central Asia founded on Islamic values. However, President Rahmon's government soon began to marginalize TIRP. Despite the party's gradual shift towards secularism, it was eventually banned in 2015, following accusations of involvement in a failed coup attempt. This move marked the beginning of a more aggressive stance against Islamic influences in the country. Restrictions on religious attire and practices. One of the most visible aspects of Tajikistan's anti-Islam policies is the restriction on religious attire. In 2009, the government banned the hijab in public institutions, including universities and government buildings. This ban was extended in 2017 to include all public places, with authorities promoting traditional Tajik dress instead. Reports of police forcibly removing hijabs from women and shaving the beards of men further illustrate the state's intrusive measures. For many Tajik women, the hijab is not merely a piece of clothing but a fundamental expression of their faith. Salomat, a medical school graduate, had to abandon her aspirations of working in a hospital due to the unofficial ban on hijabs. "I had to choose between my career and my faith, and I chose the latter," said Salomat, without revealing her full name. Thousands of women across Tajikistan have faced similar dilemmas, sacrificing professional opportunities to adhere to their religious beliefs. State control of religious expression in Tajikistan extends to personal dress and grooming. In January 2014, Tajik imams were issued new uniforms, and there have been several incidents of forced beard shaving, as reported by Abdul Fattah Shafiev for Global Voices. On March 31, a visitor to Kujan lost his way and asked a local policeman for directions. The 38-year-old man, who had grown a beard after a pilgrimage to the Kaaba 5 years earlier, soon regretted his question. He claims he was taken to a police station, beaten, and forcibly shaved. The law on parental responsibility, enacted in 2011, also reflects the government's efforts to control religious education. This law penalizes parents who send their children abroad for religious studies and bans minors from attending mosques without permission. The state justifies these measures as necessary to prevent radicalization and maintain secularism. Closure of mosques and religious institutions. The government's crackdown on religious expression is evident in the closure of mosques and religious institutions. In 2017, the Tajikistan Religious Affairs Committee reported that 1,938 mosques were closed in a single year. Many of these mosques were repurposed into tea houses, medical centers, and other non-religious facilities. The state argued that these closures were necessary to combat extremism and ensure public safety. Regulation of Hajj pilgrimages. Another significant aspect of Tajikistan's anti-Islam policies is the regulation of Hajj pilgrimages. The government has imposed strict quotas on the number of citizens allowed to travel to Mecca each year, and applicants must meet specific criteria, including age and financial stability. These measures are ostensibly designed to prevent overcrowding and ensure the safety of pilgrims. However, critics argue that they are part of a broader strategy to limit religious expression and control the Muslim population. Propaganda and cultural assimilation. President Rahmon's government has also engaged in propaganda efforts to promote secularism and diminish Islamic influences. State media often portrays traditional Tajik culture as being at odds with Islamic practices. The president himself has made numerous public statements criticizing religious attire and practices, advocating for a return to pre-Islamic cultural norms. This narrative is reinforced through educational curricula, which emphasize secular values and discourage religious expression. Surveillance and repression. The state's control over religious expression extends to surveillance and repression. Reports indicate that the government monitors religious activities and individuals suspected of harboring extremist views. This surveillance often leads to arbitrary arrests and detentions, with detainees facing harsh treatment and limited access to legal representation. Human rights organizations have documented numerous cases of torture and ill treatment of individuals accused of extremism.
Are you sick of haram content popping up on YouTube and social media? Well, we have a solution. Check out the One Islam TV app, featuring music-free Islamic content. Check it out by downloading from these platforms, or visit www.oneislam.tv.